What's up, guys? I'm back. Part 3, function work, big brake kit, the moment you've been waiting for, the review. I have driven on the brakes for about 1,000 miles, 1,000 and change, I would say, and I am here to give you my final thoughts. But before we go in that, I'm sitting at my office right now, and I'm online with a couple of websites here. So if you recall, in my first video, in my unboxing, I said that I was concerned about the brakes being made in Taiwan, and then I did a little digging, and I found out that they're made by the same manufacturer that makes AP racing brakes, and that made me feel a little better. So I did some more digging. I spoke to my friend Evan at SHG. SHG is a shop that does Honda stuff. Evan is the owner. He also has a race team. He's really proficient in all this stuff. So I told him my situation. I told him I got these brakes, and I'm a little worried that they're made in Taiwan. And I found out that they're made by the same people that make AP racing brakes. And he said that they are most likely a replica brand because AP Racing is all made in the United Kingdom. So I was like, that's a bummer. That kind of sucks. Shattered my dreams a little bit. But he shed a little bit of light, so I did some more digging. I wouldn't say that they're knockoffs. So this is what I'm finding. I have the two websites up here, and these are my impressions of the websites, right? I got the DDI Fang Li website. These are the guys that make the function calipers on this screen, and I have AP Racing's website up on this screen. So I know this kind of sucks with the fisheye lens, but thanks for that, GoPro. Anyhow, Fang Li's website, kind of weak. Not the greatest website, but it shows all of these AP racing calipers on here. They advertise them, all these different things that they sell. Like I said, these guys specialize in manufacturing calipers for aftermarket and for racing and for OEM and whatnot. So what I'm finding here is, if I click on service, AP Racing brake calipers, Taiwan's qualified authorized agent brand, AP Racing from the UK, the world's top brake system. So they're not denying it. What I gather from this very, very minimal information website is that AP Racing may or may not have authorized them to produce their brand in Taiwan or in other parts of Asia. So they probably follow their specs and quality guidelines. They just don't provide for the manufacturing in the United Kingdom or in the other places of the world, because Asian stuff is kind of weird, especially when none of the countries in the world get along with one another. But for reference, let's go back up here to products. So yada yada, all these brakes, right? We go page 2. So there's all these AP Racing. All of these part numbers, these are actual AP Racing part numbers from AP Racing calipers. If we go to AP Racing's website, it's a whole different ball game. There's so much information here. So there's articles, there's all sorts of links, technical documents, careers, product registration. Like, this is a legit brand. What's mind-boggling, I have a separate tab. You can go to their catalog, and if you look down here, 128-page catalog of just a plethora, every little spec on every single caliper, brake pad, every little thing. This is like apples to oranges comparing it to this nonsense that's here. Like, if you click on one of these calipers, right, let me click on this AP8520, right? Whatever this is. This is all the information you're getting. That's it. It's barely anything. Here, you're getting a full-blown catalog. So I cross-reference some of these part numbers, like whatever, on any of these calipers. You can find, like this one, for example, you can find it on this page. It's just a world of a difference. But anyhow, I'm getting carried away. That's talking about AP racing. We are talking about DDI brand, rebranded, this guy, rebranded for function work. So, like I said, function work hired these guys, DDI brake, also known as Fang Li, to make them a caliper with their name on it, make them a bracket that fits the RDX, and that's where I am today. So, is it a replica? No. Is the quality good? I would say so. How do I feel about having a Taiwanese brake on my car? I mean, your brakes are important, right? Especially if you do some hard driving, it could mean the difference between stopping and not stopping. That's just common sense. So with that said, I've been driving these for about 1,000 miles. I've been doing some easy driving. I did a little bit of hard driving when I could. About 600 of those miles were on a road trip. So, there probably wasn't as much braking there, because if I'm driving like 3 hours straight, 5 hours straight, I'm not braking a lot. So anyhow, you figure 600 of those miles were a road trip, and then the other 400 or 500 miles were me commuting to and from work, which is 40 plus miles a day. Some of that was driving like I stole it, especially when I come home late from work and there's not a lot of traffic. I like to get on it. I did bed the brakes in, so I drove it for a couple of days to first of all wear off this black coating that comes on the rotors. When you're wearing off that coating, it's getting mixed in with your brake pad compound, and we don't want that either. So I gave it a couple of days to wear off that coating before I did the bed-in procedure. A lot of people do not do the bed-in procedure, but with more high performance brakes you should. It's pretty simple. Every brake pad gives you different recommendations on how to do it. So generally, like, you would start at a mid speed, like 35-40 miles an hour, and you would kind of wail on the brakes just hard enough to not let the ABS kick in, and you would do that 5 times in a row, right? Without stopping. You can't come to a full stop. That's where it becomes tricky, because if you live in an area where you can't drive like that and you don't have enough open roads to do, 5 of those cycles, it's going to be really hard to bed in your brakes. So I had to drive out like an hour away from home to do that, to a local beach where they have a really long highway and it's dead at night. So fortunately, I was able to find a place where I could do that safely. So yeah, I did 5 cycles of 35 miles an hour, stopping to 5 miles an hour. And then I did 5 cycles of 60 miles an hour, stopping to 5 miles an hour without stopping, without ever stopping. You have to keep driving in order for your brakes to cool down properly. And what this does is, I don't know how true this is, but apparently every manufacturer recommends it. It takes the surface from your brake pad compound and it makes almost like a coating on your rotor to mate them together. And that's what you're supposed to do. So after a couple of days of driving, after installing the brakes, that's what I did. And then after that, I drove the car around for another 1,000 or so miles. So this is where I am today. I had one issue overall that was really annoying. At first, I couldn't figure out what it was, but then I realized it started happening immediately after installing the brakes. And I'm like, well, I thought I had like a messed up sway bar end link or a sway bar bushing, or even worse, I started thinking maybe one of my shocks is starting to go because I have eye-box springs. So it was a rattling. It was like a soft, muted, kind of metallic, kind of plasticky rattling sound. And I noticed it when I would go over a bumpy road. Not necessarily like a pothole or a dip, but a road that had like a consistent amount of bumps. So let's say like the road in front of my house has a little line of potholes that were repaired. So when I would go over those potholes, the car would just go and it would be this really weird noise. And I finally figured it out that it was the clips that hold the brake pads. Believe it or not, your brake pads, if they're not secured properly, can rattle inside the caliper to an extent that you can actually hear it inside the car. I didn't think that was possible, but I took a little video of it, and I'm gonna skip to that video. I send it to Function Work just for their reference, so they can know that their brake pad clips aren't that great. So here's the video of that. Yeah, so basically those little clips, uh, if you get your brakes and they're going to come in pre-assembled, and if you find that those clips are jiggly like that, right away take care of it. Don't wait to hear wobbly noises. What I did was I took that middle bolt out. It's like a 4 millimeter Allen key. Do not over tighten those. You don't want to cross thread those threads. I took that middle bolt out. I took those two clips out, and I basically just bent them like they're kind of like shaped like a little seat to hold the brake pads. So I took that C shape and I bend it more into a C shape to press them against the brake pads even harder. And when I did that, all the rattling went away. So, minimal hiccup. Can't be too upset. But with that said, let's go outside and take a look at the car. I'm going to mention that it hurts my soul that I drove the car for over 1,000 miles without washing it. But I wanted to do that to basically give you guys a feel for how much brake dust these pads cause. So, also, while I was doing this, nice little gift came in the mail that I've been waiting for. New plates. If you know, you know. So here we go. This is the amount of brake dust on the wheels after 1,000 miles. Kind of a lot, nothing crazy. The black wheels hide it well. Yeah, in some areas it's pretty bad. These are little clips. That's the bolt you want to remove, and that clip you bend it more this way. So now there's no more wobble. It was only on this side actually. The passenger side didn't have that wobble, so I guess they have pretty sketchy quality control. I'm hoping the calipers themselves are made a little better than the hardware. Yeah, so overall pretty good. This is how the rears look. The rears, I'm not so sure about these rotors. They stay rusty like that. Remember, these are the Ekibono OEM pads, and the rotors were
I forgot, what was the name again? You go back to the video, but no matter how much I use them, that surface rust is always kind of there. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't know if it's the pads causing that rust to be embedded in the metal, or if the pads aren't contacting the rotor enough. Well, I doubt it's the second one, but yeah. So let's talk about our overall impressions. Oh, it's hot out here. Gotta go into the shade. Oh, I also bolted down my carport. These were fun. I had to drill like 24 holes into the concrete, and man, I tell you, I couldn't feel my elbows. God bless construction workers out there, because I'm not built for that life. So yeah, overall driving impressions. Everybody will tell you when you go stainless steel brake lines that you're gonna have a firm pedal feel. I think that's just like the standard thing to say, even though most places that sell lines don't actually personally test the cars, probably. I don't know. The brake pedal feel is wonderful. It's not firm at all. It feels just like the stock brake pedal feel. The biggest difference you will notice, I will say, is the reduced braking effort. So it's nothing crazy. It's not like, oh, I have a big brake kit, and then you touch the brakes and you're slamming your head into the windshield. It's not like that at all. It's a very nice feel. I think that has something to do with the fact that it's not a huge caliper, but they did squeeze 6 small pistons into it. So the brakes feel nice. Daily driving, stop and go driving, you won't feel a difference. But when you're going, you know, a little bit fast or even very fast, it takes less effort to push the brake to stop the car. You'll notice you're not, you know, if you've ever sped before really fast and all of a sudden you have to come to a complete stop and you find yourself like slamming on the brakes, there's not much of that. You just gradually apply brake pressure and the car stops. So that's my complete honest review. I do enjoy them. If they were bigger or maybe made by a better manufacturer, would the braking be even better? Maybe. I don't know. But the point is that for a $2,000 price tag, I think you are getting exactly what you pay for. I know to some people it's a lot of money, and to some people it's you know, to me $2,000 for a big brake kit is decent, because these things, depending on the manufacturer, they can go to $4,000, they can go to $6,000, some kits go to $10,000. So a $2,000 big brake kit is a very modest price, and I think these are worth the price tag. They are very worth the price tag. Could they be a little bigger? That was my only other little discrepancy with them. I feel like they could be bigger. You'll see some of the kits, like they could have wrapped the caliper more into the rotor and had it wrap around more. Like there's so much more room here, but I think this has to do with the fact that they tried to make a kit that fits both the Accord and the RDX, and whereas the Accord comes with 18-inch wheels, this probably looks a lot nicer aesthetically on an 18-inch wheel than it does on a 20-inch wheel. But on the plus side, when it comes time to clean your wheels, you can get your whole hand in here and clean the barrels. So that is a very big plus for me, because if you have a real big brake kit that is very large, this is what it looks like. Yeah, I can't even get a piece of paper in there. So that's, you know, that's as big as it gets for this particular car. These are 17-inch wheels, but the rotor size These rotors, I believe, are also 14 inches, just like the RDX ones. They might be 13 and a half. I don't know. But they're almost the same size rotor. So squeezing this into a 17-inch wheel, these Acura calipers, if you're wondering, are from an RL. And I've heard some discussion that people are trying to fit these RL calipers on RDXs. These are 4 pistons. Not bad. Decent brakes for an OEM upgrade. I really like these guys. But anyhow, that's my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have questions, feel free to ask me. I don't know what else I can say about them. I think I pretty much covered all of it. I'm not going to do any driving and braking because it's not like you can see that on video. But I think it's worth it. I'm not upset that I spent $2,000 on a brake kit because they do what they say they do, even though they don't really say anything, but they do what they're expected to do. The brakes feel great. They're not stiff. They're not soft. I don't know how much of a difference adding the rear stainless lines made, but that was just my OCD, so I would highly recommend you do that as well if you go that route. Solid brakes. I hope they last. I have my stock brakes in a box. This whole big clump of crap. Calipers, rotors, all my stuff. I'm keeping them. Little shields, my springs, my exhaust hanging on the wall. I keep all my old parts because you never know. I know some people like to recoup their money when they buy performance parts and they immediately go sell their stock parts. I'm not really in a pinch for cash, especially if I decide to sell this car in a couple of years and I either want to A, put it back to stock, which is never fun to do because then it's like you're undoing all the work, or B, if I want to give whoever buys the car the stock parts along with it. So in the event of the brakes, I'm keeping the stock brakes because A, you're not going to get much for stock calipers, but B, God forbid something happens with these brakes. Like I said, Taiwanese stuff, you never know. If I need a rebuild kit, who am I reaching out to? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even going to know where to find the appropriate rebuild kit. Do I want to rebuild them myself? I don't know. Or maybe nothing will happen to them throughout my ownership of the car. Hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully that's the case. The construction looks pretty solid. So I have good hopes for them. Judging by how they drive and feel, I really like them so far. And overall, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I don't know. I don't know how to rate them. I don't know what you guys expect for a rating, but if you got $2,000 burning a hole in your pocket, go for it. I suggest it. Just 2 things to look out for: those brackets. If they send you the brackets and you don't see that they're shaved on that back end, maybe reach out to Function Work and have them send you the correct bracket. Or I'm sure if you buy directly from them, they will obviously send you the current updated bracket. And 2, watch out for the brake pad hardware. Make sure it's nice and tight right off the bat. So that's it. That's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed my video, and see you guys on the next one, whatever that next mod may be. Okay, bye.